Actually, we need to. We haven't done any do you remember that dog Benji that was in all the 1980s movies? He was a dog actor. We should do sort of like animal actors.
Lassie, yeah.
Lassie was in loads of stuff. Usually called Lassie.
A monkey from Friends, who's also in Outbreak and Outbreak 2 with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
There you go. Look at that.
There you go. The monkey from Outbreak.
I don't think Outbreak 2 ever
Free Willy.
I'm afraid.
We can do it.
Free Willy.
What happened to Willy?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Air Bud.
A dog from Air Bud. Oh my God.
Hello, you are listening to Off Radar, It's a Movie podcast. I'm James Smith, a professional film and video editor.
I'm James Eatock, a freelance writer and illustrator specialising in 1980s cartoons.
And I'm Neil Brock, aka Nige, the man with two names, former film journalist and currently working in the games industry.
Each week, one of us picks a movie that all three of us either haven't seen in many years or in some cases haven't seen at all.
We each watch the chosen movie, return to the microphone and let you all know exactly what we thought of it.
I'd never really had any interest in watching it and I was proved absolutely right.
I think it's amazing. I really, really love this film.
The film's still a pile of steaming dog shit.
If you fancy joining in and suggesting a movie for us to watch, why not tweet us at Off-Radar Podcast
or email us on offradarpod@gmail.com.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, share, and by all means, leave a review.
For now, strap in, turn the volume up, and let's go Off Radar. Matt Damon. Damon. Oh man. Hello. Welcome to Off Radar. I'm James Smith, and with me today is James Eatock.
Hello.
Having a sip of liquid, and Neil Brock.
Matt Damon.
Oh,
who
I was hoping we got a whole
Matt
podcast.
Damon.
Was that someone?
Who we call Nige. Poor old Matt Damon.
He's done it.
I like the way he doesn't mind being the brunt of that joke as well. But
I don't think he's necessarily come out and said he doesn't mind. I just think there's not much he can do about it, and he'd look like a dick if he says anything. So yeah,
true. He's embraced his Matt Damonness.
Do you know? So for those who don't know the context, so in a film, Team America World Police, created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who obviously were famous for South Park and Basketball and Orgasmo and all sorts of other things.
Basketball. They I used to love that film.
Created the models, and there was no intention to make Matt Damon a slightly weird character. The model came out slightly disformed, and they were like, "Oh, it's just a bit disformed." They were like, "Well, wouldn't it be funny if all he said was like Matt Damon?" And that's why they did it. They had nothing against Matt Damon at all. So it's just the way the model came out.
For years, people were quoting that. But yeah, just to I guess introduce this episode a little bit. If you haven't listened before, we've done a number of these episodes. I've jotted them down, and we've done quite a few where we talk about the careers and our favourite films and their performances of actors and directors and so on. So yeah, so far we've done going backwards in order: Emma Stone, Will Smith, Steven Spielberg, Johnny Depp, Michael J. Fox, Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Jim Carrey. So
I can't believe we've done that.
Somebody stop us.
Somebody did.
Somebody stop you.
Also, worth pointing out, we have done a couple of Matt Damon films on the pod. We did Talent Mr. Ripley and Interstellar.
But we also mentioned The Departed as part of best films of the 2010s or 20.
Yeah,
noughties.
2010s. Yeah, it must be 2010s, I think. 2010s. And just to kick us off, I've just literally, this is straight off Wikipedia, but I'm going to read it out to give you some context of who Matt Damon is. So Matt Damon...
Who is this Matt Damon?
He's 50...
Bourne Matthew... Oh, sorry.
Eatock Damon. He is 54 at the time of recording this and is American actor, producer and screenwriter. He was ranked among Forbes' most bankable stars in 2007, and in 2010 was one of the highest grossing actors of all time. He's received...
Really?
It's kind of mind-blowing, right? He's received various awards and nominations, including an Academy Award, 2 Golden Globes, in addition to nominations for 3 British Film Academy Awards and 7 Primetime Emmy Awards. So... where to begin? Matt Damon, where did you first, I guess, see or hear of Matt Damon, what was the kind of first your entry point into Matt Damon, as it were?
That is disgusting.
My first film was actually we're not going to go films in order, but like I didn't see Good Will Hunting.
Did you not?
When it came out, not for a few. No, not for many years after. My first introduction to Matt Damon was Saving Private Ryan.
Well, that was a year after.
Well, he was the titular.
Yeah, it was the film he did after Good Will Hunting. So
the titular Ryan. He was Ryan. Saved by Tom Hanks and a cast of many. Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not been a spin-off like Ryan's Journey.
Oh, don't. Oh no, Smith! You've put it out into the world now. There will be a Ryan TV series because there were three brothers, and obviously the other two perished, which is why they went to save them, because you can't lose an entire family during the war. But I remember just him in that, and just he was. Don't get me wrong, like I didn't enjoy his performance, but he was one of many. That cast is incredible in that movie. Tom Hanks, Tom Sizemore, Tom Arnold. there's a lot of
Jerry,
great
Jerry,
talent.
The Germans, the Jerrys, come on.
Jerry. So when
there's loads of Toms.
Tom Conte.
So when he shows that Tom Conte in that movie, would have been amazing, especially if he was doing his drunk impression. But yeah, when Matt Damon shows up in that movie, he's just like an additional character. So it wasn't exactly like, oh wow.
It doesn't make any sense, sir. Why? Why me? Why do I deserve to go? Why not any of these guys? They all fought just as hard as me.
Is that what they're supposed to tell your mother? When they send her another folded American flag?
Yeah, Good Will Hunting obviously came a year before that. Like for me, when I was, 17, 18, this was a film that, like, because he obviously wrote with Ben Affleck, kind of influenced me massively into, kind of getting into filmmaking and,
really?
The fact that, like when him and Ben Affleck were writing it, I think I remember reading they were doing it as part of like a class they were doing at university or something.
Oh yeah, they were. They weren't unknowns, but they weren't exactly.
No, I think they went to a very good university and stuff like that. And
he was at Harvard, wasn't he?
Oh, Harvard. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, this film, Good Will Hunting, like was the one that I definitely remember seeing first. I think.
I was just hoping you might give me some insight into the evolution of the market economy in the southern colonies. My contention is that prior to the Revolutionary War, the economic modalities, especially in the southern colonies, could most aptly be characterized as agrarian pre-capital.
All right, of course that's your
Hang on a
contention.
sec.
You're a first-year grad student. You just got finished reading some Marxian historian, Pete Garrison probably. You're going to be convinced of that till next month when you get to James Lemon. Then you're going to be talking about how the economies of Virginia and Pennsylvania were entrepreneurial and capitalist way back in 1740. That's going to last until next year. You're going to be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood, talking about, the pre-revolutionary utopia and the capital-forming effects of military mobilization.
I think that was probably the first one I saw where it was like, oh, that's Matt Damon. But I'd seen Mystic Pizza before that. Apparently that was like his first acting role. The film with like Julia Roberts and a bunch of others in. He was also like an extra on the field with Ben Affleck in Field of Dreams, which I certainly saw.
Was he?
Yeah, apparently so. Which I certainly saw before I watched Good Will Hunting. But yeah, Good Will Hunting was definitely the main one I remember. And then around that time,
that's his breakout role, wasn't it?
And obviously they won an Oscar for that for screenwriting as well, so it like made them stars essentially. And
obviously with Robin Williams in that film as well.
Yeah, friend of the pod.
Like friend of the pod, but such a straight role. Because Robin Williams at the time was going in between the kind of straight and comic roles, but the fact in this film he plays, it's so straight and. I mean,
it's very similar to
Matt
Dead
Damon's
Poets in that sense, like his kind of character being like inspirational, albeit this one's one that's kind of has had the trauma of like losing his wife and everything else. But yeah, it's a kind of a remarkable film, really. But around the same time, like Chasing Amy came out, The Rainmaker, which was based on a John Grisham film that I remember having like an ex-rental copy from Blockbusters. And then you mentioned Saving Private Ryan, but it also went on to Rounders, which is like a very good poker film with John Malkovich with Oreo cookies. That's definitely worth a watch. It's one my poker group on a Friday night often reference. And really? Dogma, and then on to Talented Mr. Ripley, which was the first film we kind of reviewed. Like, I mean, Matt Damon's a star. Like, you look at we spoke about quite a few of the people you've mentioned on the list, like the Jim Carreys, the Cameron Diaz, where maybe they do a film a year, maybe two. I mean, Renée Zellweger, who we discussed fairly recently as part of Bridget Jones, was basically doing one film almost like every year or every other year. Matt Damon does like 3, 4, 5 films a year. It's crazy. And yeah, some of them are just cameos or small roles, but goodness me, I couldn't believe how many films he's done.
I think the other thing is, like, even just listing the start of his career, there's such range in the first 5-6 years, but the range becomes even more prevalent as it goes on, obviously, when he goes into Ocean's 11 and stuff like that, and the Bourne films. But Talent in Mr. Ripley, I'm sure we would have said this on the podcast, he really pushes his acting in that film, because he's obviously like imitating Jude Law's character in the film. But in fact, on Talent in Mr. Ripley, I keep meaning to ask you, Etok. I've started watching Ripley, the series.
Oh, yeah.
You that recommended that, but I thought that's... Yeah. I saw that. Really apprehensive. I thought, how can they do a TV show of a very good film? And Andrew Scott is superb in this.
It's a great... Have you not seen it, Nige?
No.
I highly recommend people go and watch it.
Highly recommended. It's. You think, how can they turn that film or the story into like a, what is it?
Well, no, it's based on a series of books, isn't it? I think that's the thing with Talented Mr. Ripley. It was but based on like 3, 4, 5, God knows how many books. So I know nothing.
But
it's.
Yeah, they obviously there's moments in the film where you know they link it back to the film a lot, but then there'll be the characters obviously in that time get so much more like.
So is it follows on from where the film ends, or does it include?
No, it's a complete retelling.
Okay, interesting.
It's very interesting.
But yeah, like, I mean, obviously. But like the film with, I remember, like I said before, seeing Talent Mr. Ripley at the cinema was almost like an experience that his performance stays with you, because it's such a psychologically tormented performance. You know, you think of him at times in that movie as like, he's just a liar and a murderer, and then it becomes so obvious, especially with like that final scene. It's like, this guy is really fucked up. Like, I know you can say that about any murderer, but his performance in that film, I just think, is just one of the kind of all-time, like, oh my god, that's psychologically screws you up.
I've been absolutely honest with you about my feelings. Boring. But you, first of all, I know there's something. That evening when we played chess, for instance, it was obvious.
What evening?
Oh, sure, no, it's too dangerous for you to take on. Oh, no, well, we're brothers. Hey. And then you do this sordid thing with Marge, fucking her on the boat while we all have to listen, which was excruciating. And you follow your cock around and now you're getting married. No, I'm bewildered. Forgive me.
One thing I did want to say, because Nige mentioned Chasing Amy.
Yes.
It's not one of my all-time favourite movies. His role in that is a cameo, as we've said, but he was very loyal and continues to be very loyal to the Kevin Smith,
universe.
Whatever Kevin Smith's
universe. Is that a universe? Yeah, I would say more.
It's the viewer Askew universe.
Is that what it's called?
Kevin Smith's film. Yeah, because where you have like the actors doing the same characters, and sometimes actors doing other characters.
Because he's got a very prevalent role. Sorry, you're talking about Chasing Amy, but he's got a very prevalent role in Dogma.
Yeah, right? Dogma. Yeah, Dogma. He plays Loki in Dogma, and he's great in that film because him and
Affleck team up
Ben
again.
Affleck as Bartleby. Yeah, is Affleck as Bartleby.
Affleck, who was in Mallrats
because they're all.
Yeah,
Mallrats, he was in Mallrats. But yeah, like in that film, it's a Kevin Smith film, but it is what it is. But he really kind of, you can tell he's enjoying that role, that performance. I remember, like, when I was, when DVDs were a really big thing in the late kind of 90s, early noughties, I remember getting Dogma before I'd even seen the movie. So I'd ordered the DVD, and then it arrived, and it was all in like, and it came with like 4 hours of content, extra stuff. Yeah, it was ridiculous, but all the bloopers, you could tell. I remember, like, Matt Damon, he looked like he was having such a good time. It was like, I remember him tap dancing on the table and stuff, and it was just like, he seems to be really enjoying his role. And I think, I think something like Kevin Smith, he doesn't need to do a Kevin Smith film. He's not doing it for the paycheck, because Kevin Smith isn't doing the usually. I'm guessing a lot of Kevin Smith's film making these days comes out of his own pocket. Obviously, that wasn't the case with Dogma because it was a studio movie, Weinstein studio movie.
Well, most
obviously.
of them were, to be fair.
Yeah.
But
all Kevin Smith's were produced, and Tarantino obviously all produced with Harvey Weinstein. But Talented Mr. Ripley was one of those where it's like, I can't remember if I saw Dogma before. I think I saw Dogma before Talented Mr. Ripley. I think
Ripley's one of his most memorable performances, isn't it? Because of that.
Far,
but I guess then moving on to like something like Ocean's 11, where we go into a big Hollywood glossy film alongside.
One of your favourite words, Smith?
Ensemble.
Well, he talks saying about like Matt Damon kind of looking like he's enjoying himself. Like these are the perfect examples of films where I'm sure he had a hell of a time making them with his friends, like him and obviously like him and George Clooney have kind of built up a relationship. He's worked with Julia Roberts a bunch of times. Yeah. And when we mentioned during the Interstellar podcast, one of the previous ones we did, where Matthew McConaughey and Matt Damon, they kind of went in with different expectations. Everyone expected Matthew McConaughey to come in and be this like Joker on set and have fun, but he was incredibly serious. And everyone expected Matt Damon to come in and be super serious, and he was just joking and laughing around. And like, I watched a film quite recently that he's done called The Instigators, working with Casey Affleck, so Ben Affleck's brother, who he's worked with a bunch of times. And that film is just those two having a laugh, it feels like. And I feel like he's done that a lot in his career, and hence why he's so comfortable to just do random cameos in like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, or just like random films. I mean, he was in Euro Trip just because I think he was like near the set at some point.
That surprised me. I'm sure I saw that movie at the cinema. Maybe it was the previous one. Was the first one called Road Trip?
Yeah. I don't think they're like directly related so much as more they just kind of used the name. So
I remember one with a friend of the podcast, Breckin Meyer, who was in the movie Go.
Yeah, that's Road Trip. Road Trip's decent with Tom Green as well.
I remember.
Tom Green. Sorry, so I saw that one, but I haven't seen Euro Trip. But when I saw him when I was going through his Wikipedia, I was just like, he was in Euro Trip?
Yeah, that's strange that he does all these like little cameos.
Well, he was doing like Brothers Grimm at the same time, and he was like, I'll just do a random cameo.
I saw that.
So for Euro Trip.
I saw that at cinema. I cannot remember anything about Brothers Grimm at all. I cannot remember anything about Brothers Grimm.
It's got Heath Ledger in as well.
It's got him in, but I can't remember anything about that movie. I saw it at the cinema. I can't remember anything about it.
It's one of those films that I had on in the background once and can't remember anything. Likewise, can't remember anything.
Well, you guys are giving it a glowing review then. I will go and watch it.
That's the thing. Like, Damon's got a lot of films where it's just like they kind of came and they went, and like he did like The Great Wall quite recently.
Level of film that didn't come and go though was when he branched out into action, right? The Bourne Identity.
Man. No one saw that coming.
Obviously, Doug Liman, who we spoke about on Go and did Swingers. But the Bourne Identity, I remember at the time, obviously around this time, there was probably a little bit of a kind of thing going on with Mission Impossible. Well, I guess it was kind of reinvented.
You're right.
Mission Impossible, but there'd also been like Bond had kind of come back with Pierce Brosnan, so there was definitely
Bond influences. Massively so.
But Matt Damon, you wouldn't immediately think of casting in that sort of role before that film.
What the hell are you doing to me? No, what are you doing? God damn it, where am I?
A boat! A fishing boat! You were in the water! We pulled you out!
What water?
He's so good.
So good, yeah. Like that whole film. The thing about that film, like I was probably 18 at the time, and like Famke Janssen, like Clive Owen being in it, like the soundtrack as well. I think I've got the soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh god, it's a great soundtrack.
There's something about that film where it all just pulled together. And you mentioned like Doug Liman. I think he was kind of at his peak around that, and it's weird that it's kind of went on to do like 3 sequels, and like the director, like was it Paul Greengrass, ended up doing one of them as well. He's kind of more known for like documentary and quite serious
he's done
films,
like
and
United 93 or whatever, stuff like that, like real hard hitting films. So that's a surprise.
Not Famke Janssen, sorry, Franca Potente as well from Run Loader Run, and she's just unbelievably good in it. But yeah, it was quite a career swerve because he kind of had been playing. I know he'd done a few different roles, but he was kind of that boyish charm.
But it wasn't action. All of his roles, like you say, it's boyish charm. But it's usually just a man who's talking and has like a personality of great depth and stuff like Ripley, but it's not action. So I remember like we went to see this, my friends and I went to see Bourne Identity at cinema, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be unique, you know, because we knew who Matt Damon was at that point, but prior to that he'd done Ocean's 11 like in an ensemble movie, and in that movie he almost feels like the kid brother of that cast, because you've got Clooney and Pitt, Julia Roberts, like
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Accent.
Oh my god. Oof. Yeah, there's one thing I want to forget about the movie. It's Don Cheadle doing his Barney rubble.
Barney, you're a real Barney.
That sticks in my brain. But and then Bourne Identity, like Nige said, it's a great movie. I remember I was flicking channels, I want to say late last year, and it was on. And it was like an action scene or something. And I thought, oh, Bourne Identity. Ended up watching like the rest of the movie. And I was just like, oh, I'm still watching. I'm still, you know, when you kind
dip
of,
in.
You're sitting there. But like Nige said, he did a couple of sequels. Then I'm sure they dipped into someone else playing Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
But then he came back for a film. I'm sure he came back for a film called Jason Bourne.
Yeah, there was a Jason Bourne.
He did Supremacy, Ultimatum. Yeah, he's done a few of them. And then you're right.
He did the
there
first
was one called Jason Bourne, which I've not seen.
Yeah, the Bourne Legacy was released in 2012. So that was in between Bourne Ultimatum and Jason Bourne. So you're right.
Who's the actor in that, sorry?
It's Hawkeye. It's Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner,
wow.
yes, of course.
Yeah, and then I mean, obviously he's done loads of films, so you could probably pick any out. But there were a few films where he went into this kind of like slightly more sci-fi thing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Adjustment Bureau and Hereafter.
With old.
What's his face? Old guy who we spoke about.
Well, no, I was going to say Emily Blunt. Oh, yeah. But Terrence Stamp's in it, isn't he?
Yeah, Emily Blunt. Yeah, Adjustment Bureau I always found as a really, like, one of those just really enjoyable films. Like, you know, like, he's just playing.
It's like a 6 out of 10. It's for me, personally, it's like, it's fine, but it's...
I quite liked the concept, like, it's not, you know, the whole...
It's a bit glossy, it's easy to watch, it's not too challenging, it's that kind of film that's like, it's fine, and you'd enjoy it, but it's not a film that I would say necessarily lives that long in the memory. But maybe
it's just so easy to watch that I've probably seen it a few times.
Very accusational. Maybe you like it because
maybe the James Smith
and then
world. Like
Hereafter was a very strange film. I think he I can't remember. He comes back as it's a bit ghostly or something like that. But it's a very odd. An American factory worker, French journalist and London schoolboy will set out on a spiritual journey after death touches their lives in different ways. It's one of those really odd, like, noughties. Oh no, it's 2010.
By Clint Eastwood, apparently.
Wow,
as well.
Yeah, it was Clint Eastwood.
And who also did the score, which seems to me like, what? Clint Eastwood did the score?
That is such a weird
guitar
Clint Eastwood film. But
and I watched another Matt Damon film directed by Clint Eastwood the other day, Invictus, based on Nelson Mandela and the Rugby World Cup winning team. I know that's slightly off on a tangent, but I was going to mention Elysium, which was the follow-up film that the director who did another film that's a big fan that we were all big fans of, District 9, the film that they kind of did following up that. I think it was Chappie, like Neil Blomkamp did Chappie and did also Elysium, which was a huge bomb, and again was like Damon doing like an action role in the sci-fi.
I remember that. Is that the one where he's bald and has to go to another planet or something? It's really...
it wasn't actually that much of a bomb. It kind of made more than double its budget, but I remember at the time everyone being a bit disappointed.
I think I remember seeing that on a plane and being like, oh, this had potential, but was just...
Did you do the classic line, if I wasn't on a plane, I'd get off?
I'd walk out. Did you know you can now subscribe to Off Radar? It's a movie podcast on YouTube. You can watch exclusive trailers and listen to brand new full episodes. All links and info in the description down below.
Somebody stop me!
The one film, obviously, we kind of touched on just a short while ago, but for me, and it was kind of like a bit with kind of like the Bourne Identity in a way, going against type, because we've said about Matt Damon often plays like, obviously talented Mr. Ripley, very much the exception, but in a lot of his movies when he's cast, he's like the nice guy, or, you know, the fresh-faced youth, and especially, like I said, with the Ocean's 11 movies, how could he not play the young kind of kid brother to the cast? But The Departed, for me, he's like horrific in that, as in the character he plays is such a piece of shit. Like he's kind of like, Jack Nicholson is the baddie in it, but you got to say that Matt Damon is probably like the, almost like main bad guy in it, because he's the one that manipulates everything to suit his own thing. Even towards the end of the movie, he betrays Jack Nicholson. It's what I love about his performance in that is he shines when you've got an amazing cast as well. Jack Nicholson, Leo DiCaprio, Ray Winston, Alec Baldwin. It's a really strong cast. Mark Wahlberg, I know Nige's favourite.
I know, well, and obviously a Scorsese film as well, working with Scorsese. He's he's probably not, I don't know if he's worked with him again, actually, but yeah, quite surprising.
I wasn't as big a fan of Departed as you guys, but sorry, go on, Smith, you were going to say.
No, I mean, to be honest, I can't really remember it that well, so I'd need to watch it again, but I remember the twists and the turns, but I saw the original because it's obviously based on the
Infernal
Affairs.
Internal Affairs.
Yeah, Internal Affairs.
I told Internal Investigations to follow Captain Queen.
Why?
That's Internal Investigations business.
Fucking piece of shit! Hey, fucking bitch! Let him go! Fuck off! I don't have to fucking explain anything to anybody! I can fucking investigate anybody I fucking want to! Come on! I don't give a fuck what you think!
Now let's talk about his sci-fi movies. Back
this
to back.
Is the thing, there's so much to talk about, like Interstellar, The Martian, which we've talked about extensively as like not The Martian, actually.
We didn't talk about The Martian, but it's funny you say that because I think we said it's like a spin-off, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a spin-off.
But
and then he did one I was going to mention, he did We Bought a Zoo, which is like this family-friendly, random
What's
thing.
that?
Yeah, and just there's lots of little things like that where it's
like Stuck on You. Remember that?
Stuck on You, yeah. Did like a Farrelly Brothers type film. It was in True Grit as well, which was sort of a great film at the time, the Coen brothers. So it's like he's worked with everyone. Did The Informant, which was a bit of a Steven Soderbergh kind of out there kind of satirical film. He did the voice in Ponyo, which is a Studio Ghibli film. It's almost like he's tried everything.
He really has. But he's even got a voice in Happy Feet too.
There you go. But as I mentioned, there's quite a few misfires, but none of them have ever seemed to damage his career.
No, it's true.
He did The Great Wall, which was this really weird film that got quite heavily criticised as well for its kind of use of Chinese history and the fact they just cast this white saviour in it. And I remember reading a brilliant quote from his daughter. He said his daughter mocked him for doing this film that was quite badly reviewed. I imagine it's got a 5 point something on IMDb, because she kept making a point of, instead of calling it The Great Wall, she kept calling it The Wall, just The Wall, for ages. And eventually he'd be like, it's called The Great Wall, and she's like, Dad, there's nothing great about that movie. And it's just wow, that is harsh but brilliant. So I quite enjoyed it.
Right, and he said to his daughter, right, I'm taking back your Ferrari and Nepo, baby.
I feel like he's quite well adjusted though. I've seen quotes with him. He's been a big Democrat supporter in the States. I think his mother's a teacher and stuff, and he speaks quite highly about that. I was watching an interview the other day where someone was like, "Oh, you just do films to kind of." You just have a job to make money, that's the only reason you do it. And he was kind of like, well, I don't just make films to make money, I do it because it's a passion of mine. And teachers aren't teachers to make money. Most teachers do it because they want to teach. They love that job. And this woman was just a bit of a moron.
It's a bizarre statement.
I think that's the thing with Matt Damon, like we said about right at the start with the kind of joke thing. I remember seeing on this Sarah Silverman sketch, who is a comedian in the States especially, they were mocking him on Jimmy Kimmel pretty much every week all the time. Matt Damon did a video which is really worth looking up called I'm Fucking Matt Damon, where she's on.
I've seen that.
Have you seen it? And he's I'm fucking Matt, and Matt Damon's comes in on the joke, and then he comes on to the show as well, and it's so funny that he has basically embraced all of this stick that he's been getting on this show for weeks, and it's it's really good.
I'm Matt Damon.
She's Matt Damon.
I'm sorry, but it's true. I'm Matt Damon.
She's Matt Damon.
I'm not imagining it's you. I'm Matt Damon.
On the bed, on the floor, on a towel by the door, in the tub, in the car, up against the minibar.
I'm Matt Damon.
She's Matt Damon.
It's funny with like I like Ben Affleck a lot as an actor and in quite a lot of his movies. Don't get me wrong, like Matt Damon, like any actor, he's made misfires and stuff like that. But always get the feeling that Ben Affleck takes himself slightly seriously. Like you can mess with him and stuff. Like I've seen him with Kevin Smith and stuff. You can joke around, but I get the feeling there's a point with Ben Affleck. With Matt Damon, I've always got the impression from interviews and behind the scenes stuff that he's game for a laugh kind of thing. He's up for anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's that kind of openness, that vulnerability, for a more dramatic term, is what makes him quite an endearing performer in a lot of his films. Whatever role he plays, he's clearly like one of the all-time great actors of a generation kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to be, really.
He's an everyman, and he does it, and he can turn his hand to anything, and it's you're going to get a certain level of performance from him, whether he's having fun, whether it's that serious a role, whether or not it's him kind of like really stretching himself. Like I talked about Invictus, like he played a South African. Now he's done accents a lot. He's done obviously the Boston accent.
He's very good at that.
He did like a Southern accent for, what was it called? The film I mentioned kind of right at the start, The Rainmaker, which was not a particularly well-known film, but at his time in his career, it was a big deal. And he actually said that for that role, he was tending a bar in Knoxville, Tennessee, for free to kind of just learn the accent from the customers and just being there. He actually hired one of the customers from that bar to like serve as his dialect coach for the film. Like, he absorbs himself in it. He wants to do a good job. He's not just showing up necessarily for the paycheck. And I think, he's just got a really solid, I would say, reputation. And again, like, there's been a few little controversies during his career, but nothing's ever really stuck. Like, even recently he got admonished by his daughter he used the word fag, like, oh, that guy's a fag, kind of thing. Because he kind of grew up saying that, and he kind of got educated by his daughter, like, no, Dad, that's not something you should say. And he's kind of like, there's so many things where he's like, he will come out and say, you know what, I was wrong. And he will, when he apologizes or when he says something, it always seems genuine. It's not like there's some big media machine driving him and making him say all these things and like, oh, he's been media trained and all this stuff. He probably has been, but it never seems to come off that way. It never comes
across that way. I was looking at his catalogue of work. I would say the most recent film I've seen,
like a bloody Argos catalogue.
It really is like an Argos catalogue. The best bit is the end where there's the Christmas section, all the toys. Like, yes, I used to love that. The most recent film I would say, which again is a film I adored, was Ford versus Ferrari. I loved that movie.
I still need to watch that.
He plays, if I remember right, he plays Carroll Shelby in that film, and he's obviously Christian Bale, who's Christian Bale. So in other words, he becomes
embarrasses the role. I'm sure.
It's a really good film. Like, if you like motor racing, it's a good film. If you like great performances, if you like almost character-driven stories. It never feels like it's out of place, in the sense of you're a part of this world in the 1960s, 50s or 60s. It feels very much of it's like, here we are in this time in America, this very special time in motor racing in America, with some of the greatest talents to ever work on, powering motor vehicles.
Automobiles.
I kept trying to say auto vehicles. Automobiles.
I think the last film I probably saw him in was probably Oppenheimer, but
I haven't seen Oppenheimer still.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Which I saw at the cinema, obviously, but again, like, it's funny what you were saying about Matt Damon. Just generally, he sometimes can kind of merge into the background of films, even though he could basically be like the lead in any film. Like Oppenheimer, he's got quite a small part, as a lot of people do have in that film, to be fair. And obviously teaming up with Nolan again after Interstellar, which he had a small part in as well. And he's probably thinking, man, when am I going to get the leading role in one of these films, Nolan? But he's done that in quite a lot of films, actually.
Just to say, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but you say a small part in Interstellar, and yet it's an incredibly memorable performance.
It's crucial, isn't it? Yeah,
his big speech at the end, he's doing the into space, like that whole thing, like. He just, his cameos are worthwhile because he's not phoning it in, he's not cashing a paycheck. It's amazing. Like I said, I was surprised by how many movies of his I haven't seen. Like Nige said, he's a very prolific actor. It's
like Suburbicon, I've never watched, for instance. That Serbia.
It sounds like a town near
Well, I think that's what it's meant to be, like a like a town in, I don't know, like the 70s or 60s or something like that. I can't remember.
Right, okay.
Isn't it a Coen Brothers film?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've got a feeling I may have seen it and can't remember anything about it, which probably isn't a good sign. So, but like he did The Last Duel quite recently, like a Ridley Scott film, where he's like I can't even remember what century it is, but like a medieval like jeweler, and it's like, what? Like he will turn his hand to pretty much anything. And yeah, like I said, I watched The Instigators the other day, where just a recent film where he's just having fun, and yeah, he always just seems to be willing to kind of to do that. I think it's going to be an absolute nightmare for us to kind of choose favourite films and best roles and all sorts.
So, what do you think of that, Nige? Have you got any like Matt Damon kind of trivia that you could?
I got tons of trivia.
Okay, well hit us with some trivia while we think about.
We've mentioned like his relationship with Ben Affleck. So those two were like struggling actors together. They actually grew up together. They lived 2 blocks away from each other in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is again near Boston. His Boston accent is his kind of real accent. And when they were both like struggling actors, they actually shared a bank account.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of position they were in. And it was only through like getting little roles here and there. I mentioned like Field of Dreams and Mystic Pizza, that they kind of earned enough money to be able to write Good Will Hunting, which was their launch pad. Absolutely. And I remember reading ages ago that basically they didn't want them to be in it. They wanted it to be someone else, and they had to kind of fight tooth and nail to be in the film. And I think Robin Williams was a really big sort of proponent of that and supported them to be able to do so. Similar to kind of like Rocky, when he wrote Rocky and the studio just wanted someone else. But it was interesting, like when they worked as extras on Field of Dreams, like Matt actually took some blades of grass from the field as mementos for his dad. Kind of like he's someone that kind of seems like he takes a lot from his films, and like obviously he loves his family and stuff like that. So that was really nice. But and like we spoke about Stuck on You, which is just this like silly Farrelly Brothers comedy. He actually met his wife whilst filming that in Florida. She was just working as a bartender, and again, that's such a Matt Damon, like he's not like a huge celebrity is his wife. He just met a normal person who worked in a bar, and that person became his wife. So, and we kind of spoke about like not necessarily his method acting, but the fact he kind of really wants to get into roles but has fun with them as well. Like, so he learnt to play the piano for the talented Mr. Ripley, which again shows he's a very sort of, I don't know, multi-pronged person, can turn his hand to anything. He played in 1998, not long after he did the poker film that I mentioned earlier, that I am a big fan of in terms of rounders. He played in the $10,000 buy-in Texas Hold'em tournament at the World Series of Poker. And was actually knocked out on the first day by poker legend Doyle Brunson, who's like this big like classic Texan with a big Texas hat. Damon had kings and Brunson had aces, so there you go, not a bad way to go down. And then there's a few films that Damon kind of didn't end up doing that could have been slightly different had he done so.
The Matrix?
No. Probably, to be honest. I think there's probably a longer list than I've got here, but some of the ones that I found quite interesting, one was the Quick and the Dead, which is a big sort of a film that I really enjoyed, a Sam Raimi film, where he was in the Leonardo DiCaprio role, and he took that. So if you watch that film and you see Leo, I think it could have been Matt Damon. He turned down the role of Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight, which I think Aaron Eckhart ended up playing. He was also considered and was a big fan of like Daredevil, the comic book, when he was growing up. Obviously the role for that went to Ben Affleck. So yeah, there's a few little things there. And then last couple of bits of trivia. So for the older Bourne Identity, when rehearsing fight scenes with stuntmen, he actually bought them each a bottle of champagne every time he struck them by accident. So here's hoping he didn't have to buy crates of the stuff, and poor old stuntmen ended up with lots of
like stuntmen leaning into punches they know that they can easily avoid. Like,
yeah, exactly. Oh, another champagne, eh? Oh, I'll get the glasses. But he's not all muscle and action heroes and stuff. He actually is very scared of snakes. So there you go. That is a proper
like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, like Indiana Jones. And then a bit of family trivia. His uncle, George Brunstad, actually swam the English Channel at age of 70.
Wow.
The English Channel at 70. He completed a 21-mile swim in 15 hours and 59 minutes, making him the new world record holder as the oldest person to have completed the swim. So there you go. Clearly it runs in his genes that you're a special kind of person.
It's like the opening to Bourne Identity.
Exactly. Well, it is a little bit. So yeah, I think that's a fair shout. So there you go. Matt Damon.
Nice Matt Damon trivia. Little question that we normally do. We normally do like a best performance or couple of favourite performances, and then I guess your favourite films just in general that he's been in. I guess we'll extend that to films where he's cameoed if you want.
Yeah, I was going to say it's tricky for me. Yeah.
Best performance? Etox?
I haven't seen Good Will Hunting, but I know I've seen a few clips from that movie over the. I have seen Good Will Hunting. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember like scenes from that film still with me, and it's just like he's great in it. So I'm sure that would be up there. But on my heart, I'd have to go with performance talented Mr. Ripley. Yeah. As in his best performance. I think he's amazing in that movie. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think I'll just follow on from you, actually. My best performances, I wrote a couple down, but Talent Mr. Ripley, which 3 we've all talked about, Good Will Hunting and Departed. I feel like those 3 performances in particular, but I guess if I had to pick one, I would go with Ripley. I feel like that is like one of the best performances of that generation in that kind of time, and I think he does such a superb role in that. Nige, what about you, best performance?
I really struggle with this question. I just can't seem to look at one and say there's one that stands out like that much more than the other. I would probably end up going back to Good Will Hunting just because he's so memorable in it. But I think you can argue a case for quite a few different ones.
Man's got an incredible body of work. It's easy to make a case for any of his movies.
The range is so different that you could argue the Bourne Identity for a different reason. So it's fine. But how about favourite? Any
favourite movie he's been in? Did you say?
I've got a real soft spot for Rounders. Like, I really do like that film. It's such an easy watch. But I mean, like, there's so many of these films that are great. Like the cameos, as you mentioned. Like I love Confessions of a Dangerous Mind as well.
Yeah,
which was released in 2002.
Sam Rockwell.
But it's a bit unfair to kind of say that because it's such a small role in that. Saving Private Ryan is an absolute Stonewall classic as well. Field of Dreams is a classic. Yeah. Even though he's like an uncredited extra in it, for goodness sake. So again, I feel like those are cheating a little bit. Again, it's really, really difficult because you mentioned some of the recent ones. Ford versus Ferrari is really strong as well. But am I going to be really lame and say maybe I'll go back to Talented Mr. Ripley again?
Nothing wrong with that, Nige.
Or even Interstellar, like, it's obviously very solid, but yeah. Maybe I'm just going to double down on Good Will Hunting. Who knows? But do check out Rounders if you've not as well.
I think there was an answer in there, but yeah, one of those.
No, I don't.
The only thing about Rounders that always gets me is John Malkovich's accent, which is very Borat-ish. But I remember listening to an interview with Matt Damon. This is years ago, talking about that, and he said that when he started doing the voice, Matt Damon was like, well, is this a joke kind of thing? It's just like, it's not what you really want to hear. But anyway.
I think the crew were like, I can't remember if they applauded him or were like stunned into silence, but there was something. And like Malkovich worked with an actual, I can't remember if it was Ukrainian or Russian, to like get the accent. It just sounds so fucking weird coming out of his mouth. He's such a memorable character in that. It's a very odd but enjoyable film.
One of my favourite series in recent years, sorry, we're suddenly talking about Malkovich, was a show called Billions. And he's in that, and he does.
Giamatti's in that, isn't he?
Yeah, Giamatti.
So Damien Lewis, Paul Giamatti, and Malkovich pops up in a season, and he's doing the accent again. It really does pull you out of every scene. But talking about Rounders. Like Nige said, it's tricky because my favourite movie out of all the ones he's been in is one of my favourite movies of all time, but it's only a cameo. So Chasing Amy is technically my favourite movie he's been in, but my favourite movie he's been in.
Yeah.
I would say is probably The Departed over The Talented Mr. Ripley, because I love The Departed. I would say that's... But like I say, I need to go back and... It's been too long since I watched Good Will Hunting, and I'm sure that would Nige.
I'd like to watch that again, actually. Good Will Hunting. I've not seen that.
It's a sort of film that I occasionally see it on like a channel and end up watching like.
It's always on Film 4.
10 minutes.
It's always on Film 4.
I'm like, I really just want to go back and watch all of this. I don't want to do it a disservice but again, it's one of those films that it can really draw you in, but I always get disturbed or something goes on that means I haven't. But yeah, Minnie Driver as well, like that and Grosse Pointe Blank that period. Goodness me.
Grosse Pointe Blank, easily a 10.
The favourite one's a tough one. It's weird because I'm kind of falling on similar ones to you, but Talent Mr. Ripley, it's weird. I don't remember us giving it as high scores, but maybe I feel like it's such a good film that maybe I didn't give it as high score as it should have been when I'm thinking about it now. But anyway, I can't remember what I gave it. But
I think I gave it like a 7 or an 8, maybe. I feel like that was roughly.
Give me a second, gentlemen.
I should be about an 8, I think, personally, but maybe not.
I might have even given it a 6. Oh,
here we go. Oh wow! Interestingly, right? So, I gave it a 7.
Yeah.
Nige gave it a 7. Smithy gave it a 7.5.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You see,
so it did okay.
I seem to remember that, but I feel like. Yeah, I think maybe it should have been an 8, but maybe we weren't as generous back then. But and I guess Bourne Identity in a slightly different way. I would shout. I'd love to watch that again. But yeah, Saving Private Ryan for me. I know he's not necessarily in that film for the whole thing, so I don't know if that's cheating or not. But he's got quite a big role, but he's not like a leading role, so maybe it's a bit of a cheat. But yeah,
he does enough in his role, because there's one thing where there's a bust up with him and I forget which character it is when he's acting like really selfish, like and what I forget who it is like we came out all the way here for you, we lost people on the way. It's a really good scene. You get that, and you see Matt Damon's character Ryan. You see him transform it almost like, I don't want to say into a man, but he becomes like less
boyish.
Yeah, and he's sort of like, right, now I've got to grow up because this is like a very important day of this conflict. But yeah, like you say, so he's not a main member of that cast, but a vital member of that cast.
Yeah, vital, but yeah. So I don't know if that's cheating, but yeah, I guess I'd go back to one of the others we've just said. If not, well, there you go. Matt Damon. Done.
Matt Damon.
What do you guys think of Matt Damon?
If you're listening, Matt, send us an email.
Send us an email, Matt. Email us on offradarpod@gmail.com. Tweet us at offradarpodcast. You can watch us on YouTube. There's a playlist of all of these actors, so you can watch.
He did a little playlist of the actors. Yeah, good job, Smith.
So you can listen to all of those episodes back to back, after us. And give us another actor or director or writer or actress to talk about next time. Do you fancy sending us a film to review or letting us know your thoughts on a film that we have discussed? All of your comments will be read out in our end of season leaderboard episode. Email us on offradarpod@gmail.com, tweet us at offradarpodcast, message us on Facebook. All links and info in the description down below.
Do it!